All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're not just going to walk through a government form. No, we're doing a full analytical deep dive into the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, or ITIN. We're going to break down the system, its logic, and the really critical details that can make or break your application. So let's kick things off with the paradox that's right at the heart of this whole thing.
The entire ITIN system is built on a fascinating contradiction. The IRS couldn't be clearer. This number is for federal tax purposes, period. And yet, for millions of people, it's become this unofficial key to financial life in the US. We're talking opening bank accounts, building credit, the whole 9 yards. So how can a number be so strictly defined, yet so widely used for other things? That's the real question we're going to dig into.
So here's our game plan. We'll start by really unpacking that central paradox, and then get crystal clear on what an ITIN isn't. From there, we'll look at its unbreakable link to filing a tax return, navigate the tricky documentation gauntlet, and see what life is actually like with an ITIN. And finally, we'll pull it all together into a clear strategy for you.
Okay, let's start with the absolute basics. Why does this number even exist in the first place? Well, the ITIN was created back in 1996 to solve a pretty specific problem. How do you let people who can't get a social security number still comply with US tax laws? It was built as a bridge for tax compliance.
So the official IRS definition comes down to a really important two-part test. 1, you have to have a legitimate reason to file a federal tax return. And 2, you can't be eligible for a social security number. If you meet both of those criteria, you're in. This covers a whole range of people, from non-resident aliens earning U.S. income to certain dependents of American citizens.
Understanding what an ITIN is one thing. But honestly, understanding what it isn't, that is absolutely critical. This is where the most common and most costly mistakes get made. So let's draw a very, very clear line in the sand right now. Look, the main difference here is actually super simple, but it is so important to get right. An ITN is for tax compliance, and SSN is for work and earnings. They are totally different tools designed for totally different jobs, and confusing the two can have some really serious consequences.
So let's just lay it all out on the table, crystal clear. The IRS is emphatic about this. An ITIN does not give you permission to work, it does not change your immigration status, it does not make you eligible for Social Security benefits. It also locks you out of certain tax breaks, like the big one, the Earned Income Tax Credit. And, officially speaking, it is not supposed to be used as a form of ID. Just keep these hard limits in your head as we move forward. Now, let's get into the core mechanic of the application itself. This is really key. You don't just, ask for an ITIN. The application is completely locked to the act of filing your taxes. It's brilliant in a way. You have to prove you need the number by actually doing the one thing it's designed for. So, your application isn't just the Form W-7. Think of it as a 3-part package deal. You've got the W-7 application form, then your completed federal tax return physically attached to it, and finally, your original supporting documents. These 3 pieces have to go in together as a single unit. And this brings us to one of the most common mistakes people make, and it's such an easy one to avoid. The whole package does not go to the regular address you see in your Form 1040 instructions. No, it has to be sent to a special ITIN Operations Center in Austin, Texas. Mailing it to the wrong place will, at best, cause a huge delay, and at worst, get the whole thing rejected. Alright, this next part is for most folks the single biggest hurdle in the entire process: the documents. The IRS has incredibly strict rules about how you prove who you are and that you're a foreign national. I like to call it the documentation gauntlet. So the IRS says it accepts 13 types of documents, but here's the key thing to understand. Only one document does everything you need it to do. Only one document proves both your identity and your foreign status, and that is an unexpired foreign passport. If you have one, it's like the golden ticket. It's the only thing you need to send. If you don't,
You have to send at least 2 other documents from their list to cover all your bases.
This leaves you with a really critical, strategic choice to make. Option 1, you can mail your original documents, and yes, I mean your actual passport, to the IRS. This costs nothing, but man, it is high risk. Option 2, you can pay a fee to what's called a certifying acceptance agent, or CAA. These are people the IRS authorizes to check your original documents, certify copies, and send those in for you, handing your passport right back to you on the spot. It's a classic trade-off, risk versus cost. Okay, so let's say you've done it. You've navigated the whole process, your application is approved. What happens now? What does life with an ITN actually look like, both the way the IRS intended and, in the real world? First things first, let's manage expectations on timing. From the day the IRS gets your complete application to the day you get your number in the mail, you're probably looking at about 8 to 13 weeks. So you're gonna have to be a little patient. So on the books, the official purpose of your new number is pretty straightforward. You use it to file your tax return, comply with the law, get any refunds you're owed, and claim dependents for certain benefits. It's all about interacting with the federal tax system. But, and this is a huge but, here's where we circle right back to that paradox we talked about at the very beginning. While the IRS keeps its use narrow, many banks and lenders have started accepting ITINs instead of SSNs. And this has opened the door for ITIN holders to open bank accounts, apply for credit cards and loans, and start building a credit history in the US. This was never the plan, but it's become a widespread reality. And here is one more of those little non-obvious details that you absolutely need to know. For the first calendar year that you have your ITIN, you cannot e-file your taxes. That first return you sent in with your application, it had to be on paper. Well, any other return you file in that same year also has to be filed by mail. You can start e-filing the next year. Okay, we have taken the entire system apart. We've looked at the rules, the hidden traps, the realities. Now let's put it all back together into a clear, actionable strategy you can use as you approach this process. So let's just run through the final checklist. First, confirm you're even eligible. Do you have a real tax reason, and are you sure you can't get an SSN? Second, remember the package deal. Your W-7 and your tax return are one thing. Third, solve that document dilemma early. Are you mailing your originals or paying a CIA? Fourth, mail everything to that special ITIN address in Austin. And finally, just plan on filing your taxes by paper for your first year. In the end, the ITIN system is just a fascinating case study. It was created to be this simple bridge to help people comply with tax law. But in reality, with all its strict rules, its hidden tripwires, and its surprising real-world uses, it can often feel a lot more like a bureaucratic maze. The key, as we've seen today, isn't just following the steps. It's understanding the logic behind them.